It does add that extra spice to this fixture this time round as well, with these two right in the mix. And what we've asked Paul and Jamie to do is to try and pick a combined 11 of Manchester United and Liverpool players who are available at this time. So they weren't allowed to pick Virgil van Dijk, for example. Jamie, you had first crack at this, so let's have a look at Jamie's team. Not surprisingly, Liverpool dominated, but you managed to find room for 3 United players.
Yes, I mean, listen, Liverpool at this moment have the edge on Manchester United, so I think they would always dominate these teams. A few years ago, De Gea would have been straight in, but I think that's the role of Alisson now, whether you're picking Liverpool against any other team in the league. The big decision for me was at centre-back, and Maguire's had a really tough time at the start of this season, but I've actually admired the way he's come out of that now and the performance he's shown. I think that's a testament to his mentality. Fabinho was not a centre-back, so Manchester United supporters out there may argue for Lindelof, maybe Bailly, who's just come back in. But Fabinho's possibly been Liverpool's best player this season at centre-back. He's looked like a centre-back, so there's no doubt for me there.
No real argument, I don't think, about Fernandes, but Rashford ahead of Firmino, for example?
I had to have Rashford in the team. So was I going to leave Mane out or Salah out? No, of course. They're almost 2 of the first picks in there. And listen, I love Firmino, but I'm a huge admirer of Rashford, and I had to find a position for him. He's predominantly from the left, so I could have put Rashford on the left and maybe Mane through the middle, if you like. But I just felt those are the 3 best attacking players out of the, what's available, basically. And Fernandes, for me, was a shoo-in, because I think he's been one of the stars of the Premier League.
Paul's side is actually remarkably similar. In fact, only one difference, and it comes in a key position in the middle of the park. And you've gone for Paul Pogba ahead of Thiago. Tell us why.
Well, first and foremost, I'm pretty shocked that me and Jamie are that close, because we did it a couple of years back, and it took us 2 hours to kind of get to the final solution. But no, I totally agree with Jamie what he's put in his squad. I just think Pogba gives you that something different. I think the way he's playing at the moment, that's the Pogba that we haven't seen for the last year and a half. Whether that's the introduction of Fernandes, whether the fact that he's sitting on the bench and you've got McTominay and Fred, and I'm thinking, I'm Paul Pogba, I can't even get in his team. But it's definitely been a shock for him, and he's come in and he's played really, really well. And he gives you something different. He's a world-class, potentially he's a world-class player. He hasn't shown that, but he is, and I just think it's a nice little balance. I'm not sure if Jamie's gone for the right balance. I've gone for the right balance.
Total balance.
I'm not sure what he's doing.
You've got players all over the place.
The thing is, though, is that when I talk about the front 3, and Jamie's spot on, because all of those front 3 can play all across the front, they can interact in different positions. You see Mane, a lot of goals you talk about, headers he gets in the middle of the goal, so they can interact all over the place. I don't think there was anyone else I really thought. Maybe Martial. Because I think Martial...
No.
Well, the only reason why I say Martial, on his day, he's different to them.
Everyone says that about Martial.
Yeah, I know he's a bit of a fizzy drink.
Can I ask you about Pogba? That was your position. Would you have enjoyed playing with him? I would think that would have worked.
I think he would have frustrated me at times.
So what have we got him in the team for?
But the thing is, then when you talk at Pogba, when he was playing for Juventus, he kind of played more of that left, because they played a 3-5-2, he was allowed to roam more or less down that left-hand side. I think Pogba has to be able to play the way he wants to play. I think he can be a luxury player and he can be a frustrating player. But I think if you can get hold of him, then I think he's a real talent.
Gary Neville's been saying this for 5 years.
I was going to say something's never changed. People in that chair want to defend Paul Pogba.
Well, he is. And Fernandes speaks for himself. I think Fernandes last year was better than what he is this year. I honestly believe that. I think there's been games where I watched Fernandes this year and he's not really been involved in it. He's been sloppy with his passing. But the thing about Fernandes is that he can go missing and then all of a sudden he'll hit one wonder ball or one shot, as we saw the other day. Or when Man United need someone to step up and take a penalty, he'd go and, he's like Harry Kane, he doesn't normally miss, So I wouldn't say he's like a player who's in the game continuously. I think he pops in and out of it.
And Thiago, what, couple of starts, couple of substitute appearances, but gets ahead of a World Cup winner?
Well, he's a Champions League winner at this moment with Bayern Munich. I'm not picking him for what he's done for Liverpool, because he hasn't done enough, but obviously the criteria was right now, who's available. And I do think he's a special talent, and as I said, I'm possibly picking him on what he's done for Bayern Munich, what he's done for Barcelona in the last few years. I think he's won 9 titles in the last 10 years, wherever he's been. He's always been at the dominant club. Hopefully that continues this season at 11 and 10. But Yeah, I just went from there. I mean, listen, don't want to get into the Pogba situation, but I think Thiago sits there, controls the game, Henderson, so I'd like those two midfielders there, a bit of an organisation, and you've got those front four who can, do the damage, basically. I'm not players just running all over the place, a proper structure.
I'm not too sure about Thiago. One, as I said, he's been unlucky with his injuries. Two, listen, you're picking someone on what he's done elsewhere. This is the Premier League.
You've just been talking about your Pogba at Juventus.
Yeah.
You have to be sharp.
Pogba's played more games than Thiago. But Thiago's a fantastic player. I'm not sure if you need two holding players in there, though, Jamie. That's all I'm saying. It depends who you're playing.
Who do you think it's a bigger game for?
Good question. I think it's a bigger game for both teams. I think both teams will feel now that it's a game that they can win. I always get winds me up sometimes. It's like when you look at a big heavyweight boxing fight and you stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning in the last 12 rounds and all they're doing is jabbing and jabbing and jabbing and you end up going to bed. What do I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning for to watch that? And I think lately with these big games, you kind of see that teams are too scared to lose the game rather than go and win the game. We've seen it many times on Sky the last few years. So it'd be interesting what mentality they've got going into that game. Depends where they are going to be in the league. I know it's only a couple of weeks away, so I'm sure they'll both be up there, whether it's first, second, or third. But I feel it's a game that Man United can win. I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago, but I feel it's a game they can win.
That's interesting, isn't it? The strategy ahead of this one.
Yeah, it is. I don't think Liverpool will change. They look at the record at home. They've just dominated the opposition for the last 2 or 3 years. I think Manchester United have never really done it at Anfield in terms of that real counter-attack and really hating Liverpool, but they've done it against City, so similar sort of level. So there's no doubt it's there. I think we saw it a couple of times last season. They were devastating on the counter-attack. And with Liverpool's problems at centre-back there, whether Matip will be back for that game, you're not sure. I actually think it's a bigger game for Liverpool. I think the onus is more on Liverpool. I think if United got a result there, that's when I think the real belief would come that they could win the league. I still think people think Man U may fall away and Liverpool have still got that edge. I think if Manchester United won at Anfield, I think that would send sort of shockwaves through the Premier League. And I think it's a game where Liverpool really need to show they are the champions, they are the better team, and get a result. That's all that matters. But also, performance as well, and almost put Man United back where they are.
But to be fair, this thing that you said there, it said they are the champions. And that's why I talk about having that extra added pressure because they are the champions. The expectation from being a champion is probably different than actually trying to win the championship, the Premier League itself. So you're right, actually, spot on, Jim. They go into that game thinking, we are the champions, we are the team, that we're the ones who should be winning. But you're now facing a Man United team that's really, really confident. They're not thrashing teams. They were fortunate against Wolves. The Villa game could have gone either way, but they're winning games and they look a lot more confident. So they would go to Anfield thinking they can win that game.
Which scarf will you wear? Half and half?
Probably wear a West Ham scarf. Just stay on the safe side.
Liverpool, Manchester United coming your way on the 17th of January, Super Sunday.